All right, how did the idea papers go? Very good. Everybody got them in? Okay, I will have those graded no later than tomorrow morning, but I'm going to make every effort to have them done before 6 p.m. tonight. I have class from 6 to 10 p.m. tonight, and I'll probably be shot after that, but I'm going to try to get them done as soon as possible and give you back some comments, or if I think it's a good idea, I'll say you can do this, or I might say you maybe expand on this a little bit, but whatever. I'll give you some feedback. So next step between now and next Thursday is it Thursday's when it's due, right? You definitely want to get rolling on it for Tuesday so you can come to class with questions and things like that. But is your requirements document, right? So let's talk about that just for a few minutes, and then if you have specific questions about your project, I'll hang around for as long as you want me to. So requirements document. The goal of this guy is to unambiguously describe what your project will do in terms of the granular features. I like to think of this like a bulleted list of features that can then be checked off at the end to determine how well you have met the requirements of the project. Now, with each of these bullets, I would encourage you to include a time estimate of actual productivity time for each bullet. Now, I might not necessarily agree with your time estimate. In fact, there's probably a very, very, very high percent chance that your time estimate will not be accurate. It might be too high or too low, but we want it to be in the right ballpark. Because in the end, you want to be able to add up all those time estimates of actual productivity time. So keep in mind that if you have some aspect of your project that you have never heard of, you have no idea how it works, and you're going to have to do a bunch of research, that's not going to count for it. You're going to have to go and learn about that stuff and things like that. But when you actually, after you maybe you spend 2 hours doing some tutorial or something like that, and you kind of figure it out, now you understand the basics of it, and you're going to start applying it to your project to solve a certain requirement that's on your requirements document. That's then time that's going to be on there. Now, keep in mind, some of this is going to be guesswork, because if you are working with technologies you never worked with before, you might not really have a great idea how long something's going to take. So you kind of have to make a guess. And then I'm going to look at that and say whether or not I think you've guessed completely off or, whatever. So the hope is that in the end you have documented what you believe will be roughly 300 hours of productivity work. And I look at it and say, yeah, that sounds like it's roughly 300 hours of productivity work. The real goal is to make sure that it's, let's say, between 250 and 350 or something like that we're not grossly off. But in any case, you want to make this requirements document as granular as possible, but with a eye on productivity. So what I mean by that is, like, you're probably going to have some top level bullet points. Like, my project's going to do this, then this, then this, and then this. And then with each of those, maybe you go 1 or 2 more levels down, where you kind of explode out a feature and say, to meet the requirements of this feature, it's going to do this and this and this. And then maybe you go 1 more level if it makes sense for something. Don't go down to the level where it's like, I'm going to type the word the. Okay, the word the will be on this page, something like that. Because keep in mind, this is a tool to help you be productive, not a tool to just appease me with the document. All right, that's why I don't necessarily care about the format of the document as long as it's serving its purpose. All right, this isn't just a time waster. This is an important document that's going to govern you for the entire semester. All right, so I would really encourage you to put a lot of time over the weekend on this and maybe bring it with you on Tuesday. And if you have questions or you want to kind of look at some of your time estimates, we can spend some time during class and look at your documents so that you can make some adjustments to it by Thursday. Make sense? All right, so questions about the requirements document. Anything that's you want me to kind of clarify for you before I talk a little bit about the specifications document again? And we'll talk more about the specifications document next week. Okay, so now keep in mind that the specifications document, well, that the requirements document will be the basis for your specifications document. Typically, you think of the requirements document as describing the what you will be doing. The specifications document is describing the how you will be doing it. Okay, so the requirements document is going to give me a real clear idea on exactly what your product will be or what your project will be or whatever it is. And that specifications document, that's where you're going to be making some of those decisions, telling me how you're going to accomplish each of those tasks. Okay? So that's where you're going to be selecting, maybe what database technology you're using and why. Why did you pick Firebase over, SQL Server or MySQL or, whatever, something else? Why did you pick this one? So during that week, you're going to be researching the various technologies that you might be able to use to accomplish your task and making some decisions. You might come to regret some of those decisions later on, and maybe you even pivot and decide, okay, I gotta step back on this because I thought this did one thing, but it doesn't. Okay, so you're going to do your best to research something in that 1 week, but obviously it's compressed time, right? It's kind of the price we're paying to give us as much runway to work on the projects we can this semester. So I realize the first couple weeks here kind of suck because you're having to do so much writing and stuff, but you'll thank me later on when you don't procrastinate until the end of the semester and then have 300 hours to squeeze into 4 days. And that math doesn't work, by the way, if you've tried that. But in any case, so for that so the requirements document, you're really capturing those details of exactly what you're going to be doing, right? So it's going to be giving me that picture of what I can expect your final project to do. The specifications document is really more of a tool for you because at the end of the day, I might not necessarily care, for the most part, about which technologies that you pick to use for your project unless you choose something that just doesn't make sense. That's what I'm really looking for in the specifications document. As an example, so we'll throw Van under the bus here. So Van was in my office earlier this afternoon. We were talking about a couple of different projects that he was thinking about. And there was one where we were going to kind of create this whole API and stuff. And it was an interesting enough project, but he said, I want to do it in C# because that's what he's most comfortable with. And it was not the right tool for it. So I'm going to look for those things inside of that specifications document. I mean, obviously, I probably have more experience in many things than many of you, but I don't have a working knowledge of everything, right? So sometimes we're just going to be jumping in feet first and hope for the best. Okay, but I'm going to try to make a pass on that specifications document, and things that I am aware of, I'm going to say, you might want to look at these other 3 technologies. I think that might make your life easier or something like that. Or this is really going to be a problem here. And that's where it's maybe going to be important to have some conversations with me. And several of you have already done that. You've been messaging me and hopefully you're finding I'm replying back pretty quickly. Okay, so take advantage of that. I'm pretty good at technology replies. And to be honest, if I don't reply to you within about an hour during like waking hours, send it again. I'd rather you annoy me than me miss it because I didn't get the push notification or something like that. All right, I want to be as close to real time as possible. Most of you are getting replies within a minute or something. I reply pretty quickly. So if you're not getting a quick enough reply, it's probably because it somehow fell off my radar. I was in the middle of a meeting and I got the push notification and then out the window. Send it again. Annoy me. I'd rather have that than leave you hanging. But I'm going to be looking through that specifications document for things where you said, I'm going to use this technology to do something that maybe raises a red flag for me. And that's like, I don't know if that's the smartest thing. Or at the very least, maybe it's worth having a discussion about. So as you start, even during the requirements document, you might start thinking about some of the technologies you might use, but also keep in mind that you don't know what you don't know, right? So don't necessarily limit yourself to technologies you've worked with before, because more than likely your relatively small number of technologies you've worked with won't be the best solution for some of these problems. So you're going to have to go out and look at what other technologies might be out there that you could potentially use. Now, that could also be an intimidating thing. Look, I haven't done, A, B, or C before, so because I'm afraid of that, I'm not going to do it. Well, sometimes using the better tool and having to go through the learning curve for that better tool will save you a lot more time than trying to make the wrong tool work for your purposes. Make sense? All right, so that week or so that you're going to spend in that specifications document is going to require you to read up on a lot of different technologies and just kind of get a feel for what they're capable of doing. So it's almost like shopping at Home Depot before you do some sort of construction project at home, where you're walking the aisles and deciding, asking people around the who work there, asking them, okay, I'm trying to accomplish this. What's the right tool for that job? And you're hopefully going to land on reasonable enough tools for those jobs. All right, so that specifications document is kind of the explosion of the requirements document, where you've taken the things that you want to do and turned it into how you will accomplish them, the very least from a technology perspective, and then taking it one step further and maybe breaking it down into the kind of the initial high-level steps of how you'll start solving each of those problems with that technology. Maybe providing links to the various things you're going to be using, whether it's something with Amazon Web Services or whatever. But that's going to be a governing document for you, so that when you sit down to work on your project, you start with your specifications document and you start doing it as almost a paint by number. Going to the different technologies, get the different things set up, maybe even describing the order in which you need to hit these things, so that you have this set up before you have this set up because this guy relies on this. That kind of stuff. That make sense? All right, other questions about kind of what's happening over the next couple of weeks? Okay. Well, so that's all I officially have for you today. If you have any questions about your requirements or something, I'll hang out as long as there's people still here. Like I said, I'm going to start trying to grade the idea papers here probably the next hour or so. I want to get you feedback in those as quickly as possible, so you can start working on your requirements document. Like I said, do reach out, ask me questions as you're working your requirements document. Don't wait over the weekend. I'm around. Blah, blah, blah. Sound good? All right.